I think it's gonna look great. I just don't know exactly which parts I'm gonna use yet.
DorkLair!
Welcome to another DorkLair collecting video. Today I'm gonna do another kit bash, and this time I'm going to combine Magnus with King Bromdenn and see what we can come up with. As I mentioned in my last video, this extra Magnus that I got was a gift from Dennis, and I promised that I would come up with something brand new, something I have never done before. My prior kit bashes were pre-planned. They were things that I had already done in the past, and I was just kind of like sharing those with you. This one is brand new. Bromdenn over here, he's got those black armor parts with gold accents, and then Magnus over here, who's got the gold armor parts with black accents. I think it's going to look great. I just don't know exactly which parts I'm going to use yet. We'll sort of start exploring that. I've got my my heat gun, and we are going to get right to it. So let's do this. Okay, let's start by taking a look at Magnus. I think my goal will be to get the red out. I'm going to take all the red out of there, or as much of the red as I can. So we're going to lose these pauldrons. We're going to lose the skirt. And I think I'm going to probably use Bromdenn's skirt because there's kind of a limit to how many of the black parts I can use. I can't use Bromdenn's gauntlets, and I can't use his feet because I'm going for a knight look and I don't want to use the dwarf parts. So yeah, we're going to use Bromdenn's arms, we're going to use Bromdenn's skirt, Bromdenn's loincloth probably, and definitely the shoulder pauldrons. But yeah, you can see what I'm going to be trying to go for. It's sort of like basically taking Magnus, keeping him roughly the same, and using Bromdenn's parts to make accent colors and just to make him a little bit darker, a little more. Maybe it's like the evil Magnus or something like that. But Bromdenn's an incredible figure. The detailing is so good. Such a great release. And yes, this is not a quick pickup, go grab these figures and kit bash them. These are not easy to find. They're, pretty much sold out everywhere. So, I mean, you could get Magnus, but Bromdenn's really hard to find now. So this isn't a kit bash that you're going to go out and pick up figures to do. It's something you might try if you have an extra Bromdenn, or if you want to just try it and then reverse it later, which is what I do quite a bit. I don't always keep my kit bashes together. I like to experiment, see how they look, and then sometimes I might reverse it. Sometimes I have figures just sitting in bags that are just completely disassembled for, for the next kit bash. All right, well, why don't we get to it and start taking these figures apart? Let's get some of the regular accessories and things off Bromdenn first, and then afterwards we'll heat him up. I do love that head sculpt. He's pretty awesome. So we can pull his head right off. That fur piece comes out, and then you can kind of get a look at his armor. And he's got this other head sculpt here. That is probably what I'm going to use on the Magnus on this kit bash. So I'm going to be keeping that handy. The neck comes out. Bromdenn does have the dwarf neck, so that's not something I'm going to use. Of course, pauldrons pop right out. And I have the cape pegged in through the pauldrons over here. And then, yeah, so we are pretty much there with Bromdenn and ready to heat him up and get him apart. And the legs are, aside from the hips, it's all dwarf. So I'm not even going to be using the legs. So I'm not going to disassemble the legs from Bromdenn right now. And then let's get Magnus apart. We got his head here. I do love Magnus's head sculpt. We need more sort of standard human heads. Some of the older ones are hard to come by. We can remove these pauldrons. We can remove the neck piece, collar. Let's see what else we can get off of him without the air. We can remove this. Yeah, I'm probably going to go with the torso here. We'll see. And just a reminder, I have a very weak blow dryer, so I tend to be very close to my figure to heat it up, but a lot of blow dryers or heat guns are going to be, powerful, and you're going to want to hold them a lot further back. I do feel like the newer figures pop apart a lot easier. They just kind of like pop right off. One thing about some of the newer belts, you got to stretch them around the hole. So I'm going to heat this up a little bit more just so I don't like rip it or anything. Now that should pull right up and through. There we go. Yeah, so you can see that hole is a lot smaller on some of these newer belts. I'm also probably going to switch the arms and gauntlets. So I'll probably use the black arms and put these gauntlets on them. So I need to pop these off as well. Those are probably the easiest part to get off. You don't usually need heat. Okay, I got all the parts laid out here, and I'm not 100% sure, but I know for one thing I'm going to be using Magnus's legs. So I can get Bromdenn's legs out of there. I'm trying to get rid of anything that's red. So I can get rid of the shield. I can get rid of the skirt. I can get rid of these armor pieces. I can also get rid of any dwarf parts. So I'm going to get rid of his head and his gauntlets. I want to use this skirt and get rid of the Magnus skirt. And then I definitely want the Magnus torso, so I can get rid of his. I'm going to be using Bromdenn's arms and Magnus's gauntlets, so we can get rid of Magnus's arms and Bromdenn's gauntlets, which I got rid of already. Probably use Bromdenn's skirt piece, shoulder armor, and helmet, but I need Magnus's neck so that we can go with a regular knight style. And I'll probably use this collar. And yeah, we can get rid of the crown, the neck from Bromdenn. We'll figure out weapons. He's also got the big hammer, and he's got that sword as well. And Magnus's head can go, and possibly this axe. Probably not this axe. So yeah, this is what we're looking at right here for the Kitbash, and I don't even know. Like, we're going to see how it comes together. We'll see how it looks. I think it's going to look pretty badass. So let's start assembling this thing. All right, here we go. We have his legs. We're going to put the loincloth in there. That looks pretty good. Could maybe even look to another figure to get like a black loincloth or something. Could even use a barbarian loincloth potentially. That'll make it look a little less knightly, but he is going to be kind of dark, so yeah, we'll stick with this one for now. Next up, we have the skirt piece from Bromdenn. And moving on to the torso, I'm going to heat it up just a little bit more before we get popping again. One thing I could theoretically do is I could potentially take the upper thighs. I could take the hips from Bromdenn potentially, but I don't know if that might not be enough detail to really show through, because on the knight legs that gets tucked in a bit. So I'm going to leave it as is for now. I don't think it's going to be something that's super visible. Let's get these arms in here. Pop these gauntlets on there. Starting to come together now. I was thinking of swapping this dragon out for the gold dragon that comes with the deluxe knight, but this thing's glued in. Let me know if your Bromdenn's helmet decoration is glued in there. We're going to use Magnus's collar. We're going to use his neck. And then we're going to pop that helmet right on there. So that's coming together pretty good. And I think really what's going to tie it together are these pauldrons, giving it a sort of a dark knight look. I do wish there was a way to get a little black down into the lower parts. I may have to look to another figure and see about getting some lower black on him. But overall, I'm thinking this is looking really good. And then I gotta decide what I want to give him for weapons out of this setup. So do we want to give him the big old hammer? Do we want to give him the axe? Or do we want to give him the sword? And then also, should he have the shield? I think the shield looks good. That's got to go with him, I think. So we're going to do the shield and maybe the sword. I think that'll kind of look like a knight to have that shield and that sword like this. So let's get these on there. There we have it, our Magnus Bromdenn Kitbash Magden? Bromdus? I'm not sure what we should call him. But I think it's looking pretty good. It's not quite like the perfect thing. Like a lot of times I get done with a Kitbash and I think, oh yeah, I've found that one formula that just makes both figures look better than the original. I don't know that that's really possible with these two figures, but this does look pretty cool. If I could bring in a few more black parts, I think it would probably look a little bit better, maybe on those lower boots or something. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with what came out of this. So let's take a look at him with a few other figures. First up here is with the Templar Vorthog Kitbashes from my previous video. Most of the parts are the same, and this is kind of what I was going for, was this heavy knight kind of thing. Of course, the head is different, but almost everything else is exactly the same. And I just couldn't resist sharing this figure. This is my new custom Tibius head. Eric Miller, EM Customs, watched my Tibius review and noted when I said that his head kind of looked like baseball stitches or the red stripes on a baseball, and then he actually went and custom painted a head sculpt. In fact, I mean, just look at that thing. Beautiful paintwork. He is so skilled at this stuff. It's incredible. Go check out EM Customs on Instagram. It's just great stuff. And thanks again, Eric. I appreciate it very much. And finally, some people have been asking me to share the other figure that you can make with the leftover parts. And so I threw together this King Magnus type looking dwarf character. And it's actually not too bad. Like, you can pretty much make a base body. I would get rid of that skirt, of course. It's just too long and it's sort of like tucked underneath there and whatnot. And I don't think I would use the Magnus head, especially not with that crown the way it looks. But it's, you know, it's the start of a decent figure. But overall, this was a kit bash that I pretty much did on the fly as I was recording it. So there might be some tweaks and changes I would make. I would probably start looking to other figures to bring in some different parts besides these two particular figures. But if you have thoughts of what changes you would make, would you use a different loincloth? Would you use other parts from Bromdenn on this figure? Would you make some different swamps than I did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't watched it yet and you want to see how I made these guys over here, check out this video. And until next time, may the force be with you. A little bonus content. I actually, after the fact, I went back in, and one more little tweak you can make with this combo is to add Bromdenn's hands to it. So that's another little option you can add. I like Bromdenn's hands on there a little bit better, I think.